this is Joel with American Giants, and today's a really exciting day. Way back in 2012, up here in Bartlett, Illinois, I paid a visit and spent a day hunting for a long-lost waving giant that was once at Adventureland in Addison, Illinois, outside Chicago. And at the end of that day, I did indeed find that waving giant in the attic of an old barn that had turned into a used car lot. And the giant probably came down, used to stand outside that barn, and was known as Big Ben. And he came down probably in the 90s because the city wanted the owner to fix him up or take him down. And so he came down. All these years he's been entombed in this attic. And so today we're just a few minutes away here from going and pulling him out of that attic and obtaining him for the American Giants Museum. So this is really super exciting. I've kind of been tight-lipped about this all these years because I was hoping that one day we could get him, and that day has finally come. All right, on the ground here, where the waving giant is, this is Lee. You guys might recognize him from Arkansas Hot Springs. He's got the tow truck guy we delivered. He's going to help me today. We're going to haul this out of here and see if we can get it out of the attic. So let's go check it out. This way. All right. It's been over 10 years since I've been up here in this attic, and when I was up here, I didn't really know a lot about a waving giant. So he's got a hat, which is some kind of steel mesh thing. I don't know if it doesn't look original to me, but maybe it had paper mache on it at one time or something. And then Big Ben is still on his chest, and definitely a waving giant. He's missing that hand. They said I could look around this attic and see if I can find it, but I don't know if it's up here. And and then I don't remember the frame on this guy at all when I was here before, and it obviously was on him, but I just have no recollection of that. So there's the legs, and he's been stood up. That adds a lot of weight, so I'm a little worried now. We'll get him out of here. It's just, it adds weight. Yeah, so cool to see one of these. There's only a few waving giants left. So Lee and I are moving all this stuff here that's in front of the only exit of this, the garage, barn. You can see how huge this building is. It's just a giant old barn that they kind of enclosed in, but thankfully they left this door and they measured the giant and they assured us it would fit out. So we're gonna move all this stuff and then hopefully drag him over here, and then we got to figure out how to get him down. Possibly one of the biggest mysteries of International Fiberglass is what I have coined the waving giant. No name was officially given to these massive giants back in the 60s when they were made, and it is unclear exactly how many were made or who ordered them. In 1965, International Fiberglass was involved with a massive order from Texaco for 300 Big Friend statues, which actually turned out larger than International Fiberglass had planned. It is my belief that other customers were interested in the giants, and because they could not be made for anybody but Texaco, a similar giant was made, resulting in the waving giant. Owner Steve Dashew, who ran International Fiberglass, has no memory of the giants and has said that many projects were built and distributed while he was busy with other parts of the business. Today, only 8 of these waving giant versions still exist, and 4 of those are modern reproductions of the originals, with the wrong head. The 4 originals vary a bit from each other because different versions were made back in the 60s. They could be ordered in a full suit or with just a shirt and tie, or a bow tie if desired. We know that car dealerships order the giants as well as amusement parks or fun parks that had go-karts. We also know that a few of these giants were used at gas stations in much the same way muffler men were. Some of the giants came with rolling platforms and could be transported on one of the International Fiberglass made trailers. At least 2 of the suit versions were made, and one was delivered to Lou Polak in Beverly Hills. The Giant was a well-known fixture in town back in the 60s, standing in front of the business on Melrose Ave next to a massive tire. Eventually, the business sold in the early 70s, and the next owners were Excalibur Collision and Repair, which sold luxury pre-owned cars like Rolls-Royce and Jaguars. The Giant was repainted blue and named Mr. Rolls-Royce and given a Rolls-Royce sticker.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The Giant stood there till 1974 when Ringo Starr started working on his album Goodnight Vienna. For the cover art, he brought back imagery from the 1951 movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. He used a modified scene of the ship with the Klaatu and added himself. For promotional and music video purposes, a recreation of the album art was made with real statues on top of the Capitol Records building. Pictures and videos still exist of the 2 massive giants on the roof, one representing the Klaatu and a smaller statue as Ringo. Mobile Production Systems Incorporated was hired in late 1974 to create the massive attraction that would adorn the roof of the records building. The Klaatu was about 30 feet tall and was most likely made from scratch, but when it came to recreating Ringo, the company noticed the waving giant on Melrose. The Giant had exactly the hand position needed, and only the face would need heavy modification. The Giant was purchased from Excalibur by Capitol Records, and a large crane was used to remove the Giant. Michael McCloskey, Weird project design chief with Mobile Production Systems, was given the task of transforming the Giant into Ringo. Michael used plaster on top of the conventional face of the waving giant to recreate something that looked more like Ringo, and also gave the giant a sort of robe to wear that covered up the suit. Both statues were then hoisted to the roof of the building and mounted for promotional purposes and for the shooting of the Goodnight Vienna music video. The Giants were said to have remained on the roof till January of 1975 when they were removed without a trace. To this day, no one knows what became of them or where they went. The other suit version was shipped to the East Coast and was used by a pizza parlor in Farmington, Massachusetts. In 1970, Mario Cantillini bought the statue from the pizza shop for $2,000 and moved it to his Mutual Ford dealership in Springfield, Mass. The dealership used the slogan of Buy American, so the statue was transformed into an Uncle Sam character, and the statue's chef hat was replaced with a top hat. The statue stood on the lot until 1988, when the dealership closed. Cantillini was involved in many businesses over the years. He ventured into the hotel industry in the early 90s at the age of 74. One of the hotels that he owned was known as the Chicopee Motor Inn when it was built in 1958. It went by several names over the years before Cantillini bought it and renamed it the Plantation Inn. The hotel's heyday was in the 1960s when it was known as the Shine Inn. It was a very popular place with celebrities like Muhammad Ali and Judy Garland. In 1999, the hotel's most famous guest arrived. The Uncle Sam statue was taken out of storage and transformed into a Southern gentleman. The statue's suit and top hat were painted white. After 14 years at this location, it was sold at an auction in 2013. The giant briefly appeared the next year at Agawam, but then disappeared shortly afterwards. The giant will be set up at the company's new building in December 2025. 3 of the original shirt and tie statues remain today from Illinois, Texas, and Ohio. 2 of them seem to have come from go-kart tracks in the 60s, with the one in Illinois near Chicago was used at a tire shop. The one in Texas was obtained by the late Glenn Gould in the 70s and installed at his Gainesville property. It became a well-known roadside attraction, and he even made a mold from it and made 2 of the modern copies. Glenn added a standard muffler man head and a cowboy hat to his waving giant, since the original head was lost sometime in the 70s, long before he got it. The Giant Ohio was used for many years at a graphics business before being sold and fully restored by Mark Klein. Mark also made molds of this giant from which the modern-day Texaco Man in Galena, Kansas was made. Once Mark completed his work, the original waving giant was sent back to Ohio where it was put in storage. It will one day appear at a Cleveland muscle car museum.
So we got the torso out pretty well with a bucket on this, and then they went and they got this like road grader attachment, and I don't know how that's going to work. They're trying to tie it to it now, but I think the bucket they had on there was perfect, so I don't know why they switched out, but we're just kind of, they're helping us, so we're going with the flow here. But yeah, we've got them all the way in the door there. Looks like the feet will fit out that door, so we'll go ahead and lower him down slowly, and the guys up top will hold his waist. And it's been a long time this guy's been in this attic.
For the first time in 25 years, the original waving giant sees daylight again. Big Ben has survived remarkably well in the attic of the barn.
Just make sure you don't fall on it.
And with Lee's help, we got him all strapped down on Lee's trailer for the trip to American Giants Museum. The waving giant spent the next few days on display at the museum during the grand opening weekend. And then he headed to the Regiant shop in southern Illinois, where he awaits his turn at restoration. Our investigation into his history turned up a unique logo on his chest, and with the help of my friend Josh Sanders, it was discovered the logo was for the Dayton Rubber Company, or Dayton Tire. They made a brand of tires called Dayton Thoroughbreds, and this is the logo that appears on his left chest above the words Dayton Tire. Come to find out, this waving giant was ordered from International Fiberglass in 1966 by Burnham E. Neal, who owned Neal Tire, with his parent company called Ben Tire. Neal Tire were dealers for Dayton Tires, and so they put the name Big Ben on one side of his chest and Dayton Tire with the horse logo on the other. The giant first stood in Mattoon in 1966 and was then moved to Decatur in 1967. The giant had a platform and wheels and possibly even a trailer, so he was moved around the 5 different locations the company had at the time. It's possible he went to Adventureland in 1970, but we have not confirmed this with pictures. By the 90s, he ended up in Bartlett, Illinois at Ben's Tire Barn, and by the year 2000, the place was selling lawn furniture and sheds, and the giant was put into storage in the attic where we found him. Now that we know his history, we hope to restore his original logos and lettering and paint job and set him up at the museum and share his unique Illinois history and story.